1993 had a good sort of start to it. In the previous year, my parents had got divorced. I got my driver's license, learned how to drive a stick shift, crashed my first car, got my first job, my first girlfriend, my first real kiss, got to hang out with some new friends for a Halloween party, and my mom locked me up in a mental institution. So, you know, what could possibly follow that? I moved into a real tiny apartment with my dad, and I think my dad quickly realized that in order to keep the bishop happy in this arrangement, he was going to need a bigger apartment. So he went and signed a lease for a 2-bedroom. And guys, when I say I was clever, my dad moved all of his stuff into the new apartment, and I grabbed all of my stuff at the end there, and I looked around at this empty apartment and I thought, huh. So before I surrendered my key and locked the front door, I went to the back and opened the window. You know, not much. Later that night, when I was hanging out with my girlfriend Amanda, I said, hey babe, I want to show you something. So we went to the back of the building, and I opened the window and I jumped in and I helped her jump in, and I went back to my car and I grabbed some blankets and some pillows, and we did a little dance that night. We had the whole apartment empty to ourselves. So when it got time to snuggle, I said, hey, you know, we should do this. We should have our first sex. She says, okay, did you bring a condom? I had not. So clever, sorta, I don't know. The new apartment was pretty cool, 2 stories, so upper and then bedrooms on the lower. And my bedroom also had like the window on the ground floor, so you could kind of come and go, sneak in, sneak out, I don't know. When Amanda and I finally did do our thing, guys, when I say clever, you know, maybe there's different levels of clever, right? Like making copies to a car key, that's pretty clever. Changing my stance on suicide as soon as I was locked up. But when I bought a condom, in my haste, I guess I had just skipped over the part about how you actually do it. Does that make sense? So I think, I mean, this is my first time, guys. Like, I lasted maybe 90 seconds, and all of a sudden there was this explosion, and there was this burning, there was this pain, and oh my gosh, stopped what I was doing, immediately pulled the condom off, checked on my little guy. He seemed okay, but oh wow, did that hurt. Like, it just, yeah, undescribable. So I told Amanda, hey, we got to get some different form of birth control. Like, this is not going to work. The bishop is not happy. So I think we went to the Planned Parenthood, and Amanda got the shot, Depo-Provera. Is that what it was called back in the day? And life was good, you know, sex was good. It was only at that Planned Parenthood when I was taught that when you put a condom on, you have to leave a little bit of space in the tip. You have to pinch and then roll. And if you don't leave this space, something bad happens because there's no room for the stuff to come out. Don't make this mistake, guys. When you teach people how to use the condom, otherwise you will have a fear of condoms for your whole life. Trust me. So yeah, good times, you know, like good love, good girlfriend. First times are fun like that, you know? First time, I guess that's when you get all the mistakes out. But you know what? I was happy. My dad found a job where he traveled a lot, so he was gone pretty much like Monday through Friday. I would hang out in this big apartment, you know, my girlfriend, when she was at work, she worked at the International House of Pancakes, so IHOP, as a waitress. She always came home smelling like syrup, which was delicious to me, maybe not so much to her. But But yeah, we would hang out, we would have sex as often as she would let me. I would play video games on my dad's computer, or, you know, do some journaling. I would write stories. My little brother would come to visit us sometimes, and we had this board game, my dad, my little brother and I, it was called Hero Quest. And oh, how we loved the Hero Quest. I didn't see much of my sister during this time, and I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand why my mom was so sad all the time, and I guess my sister was sad too. To me, it seemed like she very much got what she wanted, you know? She had struggled her whole life, her whole marriage, to like get away from my dad, and when she finally did it, she was still sad. Like, how does that work? To me, if you got what you wanted, you should be happy, but I don't know, my mom struggled, I get it. Single mother, job, oldest son just moved out. I feel like, looking back, that my mom was sad for so long. She was trapped, you know, for so very long. And when she was unhappy with my dad for year after year, you know, and then she was unhappy without my dad, it just sort of lingered. It carried over. And I wonder if this was like a habit where you do something or you feel something over and over and over, you know? I just couldn't understand it. I just wanted to be happy. We call this thing the Grand River. It's how my city, Grand Rapids, got its name, right? It's grand, or something. I think my little sister, she got, you know, the majority of this dynamic where you're sad all the time, you can't really figure out why, can't understand why. I know I got a healthy dose of it, and it's only, you know, it's only now that I can look back that I can see it. So here's how it works, okay? So every so often, maybe 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 9 months, my family would have like this bomb would go off. It was a big old bomb, right? My mom would get real sad. She would cry during dinner. My dad wouldn't talk to anybody for a week. And my little brother, my little sister and I and my brother, we didn't know what to do, you know? And it was unpredictable, so it would just happen. The other part of it was that after it had happened, after this bomb had blown up, there was no explanation, you know? There was no reason why it happened. It was a mystery to us because my mom wouldn't tell us why. It's the bomb, it's going off again. So it creates this constant sense of unease, you know? So this constant unease is with us all the time. It's like this little monster in the back of your head. And it says, is the bomb gonna go off? When's the bomb gonna go off? Why hasn't the bomb gone off? It should have gone off by now. And it makes you real anxiety, is that the word? It just makes it hard to function. It just makes it hard to function because you're always anticipating this bad thing happening again and again. So you sort of get into this mindset like, even when things are good, something bad's gonna happen. And if something bad hasn't happened yet, you know, maybe it's time something bad happened. We almost created ourselves. It's crazy, I know. It's only when I look back. I mean, guys, I grew up worshiping my TV, okay? I idolized it, you know? The people inside my TV, the Goonies and Superman and Indiana Jones, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoons, these are my heroes. And I learned everything from the TV. I learned pain and sorrow and joy and happiness and victory and conquest. And, you know, I became hypersexualized because back in the day, National Lampoons and Revenge of the Nerds and all of our comedy was sex-based. So now, I still have this programming inside of me that says, hey, if something is on the TV, if something is on the telly, it must be real. It must be factual. And guys, it's kind of cool when I put myself on my giant 55-inch TV at home, I can pretty much look right into the camera. I can talk to my inner bishop. Does that make sense? So, hang on for a second. I gotta talk to myself, okay? Bishop, you're okay. It's not your fault. You're a good person. I love you. Bishop, I love you. Whew. Yeah. That's harder than I thought it would be. Whew. December in Michigan, right? Isn't this fun? I had a comment on one of my previous videos that said, Bishop, you should be a therapist, huh? And I kind of chuckled at that because it's interesting, you know, when you go to the therapist, you sit down there and you ask them for help. The first thing the therapist says is, okay, tell me everything. Can you start at your childhood? What's the first thing you remember? So I feel like I am telling everything, you know, this is me. I'm telling everything, starting at the beginning. So if I do go to a therapist someday, maybe I just show them my videos and I say, there's my everything. But guys, I'll tell you a secret. It's pretty cool. We all actually have our own therapists. They're right inside us. And one of the coolest parts about our own therapist is they're free. They don't charge you. But you do have to sit there and you do have to talk about your earliest junk, and that's part of the process, huh? When I look way back, I can hear my mom's voice saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I feel like maybe that was something that her family had said. Maybe it was her church. And it's this idea that you don't talk about it. You got to protect the person you're talking to. You got to protect me. You got to protect you. You got to protect everybody all the time, Bishop. You can't stop protecting them all the time. It's freaking maddening. You can't talk about it. Don't talk about it. So when everybody in my mom's world said, hey, you got to take your kids to therapy. You got to stick them in this room. You got to make your kids talk to these strangers. What did she expect would happen? She had taught us our whole lives by example and by words and catchphrases that you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. So I went into these rooms with these strangers and I didn't talk about it. I couldn't. How could I? My mom pushed me out the door. I feel like she pushed me and I went to my dad. She got an $18,000 bill from my 10 days or whatever it was, my stay at Pine Rest, the mental institution. $18,000, Mom. And you know what the irony there? My mom loved me so much. My mom would have done anything for me. Anything. But the one thing that she wanted the most, to not have a broken kid or to fix her kid, sometimes it's really hard to look in the mirror And it's even harder to stop and do nothing and just listen. Yeah, talk, right? You gotta talk. Guys, we have this ability. Share your story, you know? Talk to your kids. Listen to your kids. But where was I? 1993, new apartment. Pretty much had the place to ourselves. Amanda and I would cook lasagna. We had all the music, you know, the Tori Amos, the Melissa Etheridge, the Gin Blossoms. We had our favorite restaurant, the Chinese food, right down the street. And the sex, lots of sex, because, you know, you're young. So, I don't know, I feel like the bishop completely just abandoned his old life, you know. I didn't care about school. School was just a place where you went to hang out with your friends and smoke cigarettes. I had the long hair, the combat boots, the ripped jeans. I had a black leather jacket. It used to have little spikes on it. And it used to have a little bell so that you could tell when I was coming. I even went out and I found a t-shirt with the big bold block letters that said loser across the front. So imagine trying to make fun of that kid, right? A guy that wears his label right across his chest. Wow, it's kind of loud here. Kind of loud. Downtown Grand Rapids on a Saturday. Yep. It's all going on. So I graduated high school my junior year, just barely. I found that I could get my job back at the Hot and Now, and I sort of cut down on the stealing, maybe just a little. It was around this time that my dad had this uncomfortable little rule. He said, Bishop, no letting the girlfriends stay in the apartment when you're gone. And Bishop, no letting the girlfriends spend the night, right? And I couldn't understand this, you know? I mean, I guess my dad didn't trust Amanda, but I trusted her completely, you know? Our relationship was strong. So, to me it felt like just because his relationship with my mom, you know, it doesn't mean that that's how all relationships are, but I guess my dad was worried that my girlfriend would steal from him, steal from me, that we would break up, it would be ugly. I don't know. It's hard when you have so much trust and it just doesn't work, right? I don't know. I sort of grew resentful of my dad for that. It was a thorn in the side, right? Because if Amanda wants to sneak through my window and wait for an hour till I'm done with work, what's the problem there? And Amanda had spent the night lots, countless times, right? So, but my dad was serious, you know, and it became a point of friction, right? So, I don't know. It was difficult for him to enforce it, right? He would be gone all week. But every once in a while, he would just like show up on a Tuesday night, surprise, see what Bishop's up to, see if Amanda's there. Yeah, it was tough. I felt like I had done all the things, right? I had done everything. Like, wasn't I a man already? Wasn't I able to make my own decisions and decide who I could trust or who I couldn't trust? It just didn't feel fair. In September, I started my senior year of high school. Woo! And I was pretty I was pretty ready. I don't know. The other kids didn't pick on me anymore. My mind was sharp. Like I could talk the talk, you know. I had been through counseling. I went to a mental institution. I don't know. I guess life has a way of making us hard, huh? So I returned senior year and back to the same art teacher that had called my mom, the same art teacher. A lot of the teachers, you know, they knew me. I was the broken guy. So it was fun. Looking back, my senior year of school was by far my best. I became one of the cool kids, and I slowly started to talk to my mom again. I don't know. I don't know why we return to the relationships that are toxic to us. We just do, huh? Maybe that's something my mom taught me. But this curse, oh, how it followed me. I mean, anytime there was any little thing wrong, anytime I was having a feeling or an emotion, oh my God, did I feel it. I felt the crap out of that emotion. And this is what I was taught, you know, this is what my mom gave me. When Amanda and I were good, like we were really good, you know, everything was going right, I would have this little thing in the back of my head and it would say, Bishop, something's going wrong. Something's gonna happen, you know? It always happens. Basically, I needed to hurt. And I needed Amanda to hurt with me. I was copying my mom's behavior. Look into my eyes, Bishop. You can see it. I know it's there. It's an inability to just be happy, you know? Just be happy, be okay. So I look back at some of the journal entries from this time in my life and wow, there it is. 1993, November 12th. I woke up this morning with Amanda in my arms. I felt so awful. The voice inside my head, it keeps saying, God, you've finally fallen out of love with her. You never thought you would. It makes me so sad whenever I think that. Maybe it's time to wave goodbye now. Time to wave goodbye now. These are song lyrics. If you know this song, you know how powerful, how much agony is crammed into every lyric. After I got out of work at 9, we went back to my place, and I decided I was going to tell her. I can't wait, and I know it's hurting her. I know she can feel my pain. We just sat in bed and cried for over 3 hours, and I just couldn't explain myself. I mean, how am I supposed to love? How am I supposed to justify my love for her when I have so much torment in my head? My heart is ignoring her, and I tell her I love her, but my mind tells me it just doesn't sound the same. And it doesn't. That's the truth. So what the hell am I supposed to do now? So later that month, I was doing Thanksgiving at my mom's. And guys, I didn't hate my mom, you know, I understood. Even back then, I sort of understood what was going wrong, what was going on. And going back to, you know, my childhood home, I don't know. My grandma was there, my little brother, my little sister, and we could sort of pretend, you know, that everything was kind of normal. So during Thanksgiving dinner, or maybe afterwards, I was telling my mom about my dad's rule, about the no girlfriends rule. And telling her how unfair it felt, you know? I don't know. I told my mom that I really wanted to just get away from everything, you know, that I wanted to go on a vacation, that just Amanda and I. And I said I wanted to like just drive, you know, get on the road. So I gave my mom something of an opportunity, and I think she jumped on it, you know, maybe just to earn some points with the bishop. I don't know. But I said, hey, I'm still 17, I can't rent a hotel, but you could, Mom, with your credit card. She said, okay, sure, how can I help? So I think it was in December, Amanda and I jumped into her car, drove through a blizzard, Guys, this was back when you didn't have the Google Maps and you actually had a paper map that you would have to open and look at the roads, street signs. You had to pay attention. This is why they called it a road trip, because you were very much, you know, it was the road. So we drove through that blizzard and we ended up in a place called South Bend, Indiana. 2 17-year-old kids leaving the state, leaving everything behind just to get away, you know. So that hotel night was pretty special. Amanda and I had more sex. And in the morning, we woke up and right next door there was a little movie theater. And we went and sat and watched a movie called A League of Their Own. Remember this one? So afterwards we walked around downtown South Bend, Indiana. Didn't really want to return home. You know, it felt good to get away. We found this little pet store and we went in and we looked around and oh my gosh, Amanda found this cute little cat and the way she smiled. So I had to have it, you know, we had to have it. I bought this little cat and on the way home, Amanda, she gave it her name. It was called Anguish. How could I refuse? So I don't know. That winter into the spring, I started a new job, needed more money. I got a little nervous about the stealing thing, so I went and found a job where I worked in a production, basically. This was an ink mixing factory. There was these 3 big stainless steel rollers, and you would put paint in the middle of these 2 rollers, and then you would stir it and mix it, and you would add a bunch of chemicals, make it look glossy or matte, you know, whatever the order was. But I would come home from work and I would be just splattered with paint, just covered, all different colors. It would be on my pants and on my boots, and it would get on the inside of my car, and you know, it would be on the inside of my dad's apartment too, and I wasn't careful. You know, after you stand all day and you work, you don't want to worry about changing your clothes outside the apartment. You just go in, you know? And this stuff was unavoidable, guys. It was everywhere. Paint splatters everywhere. So another thing to give my dad a reason to be mad at Bishop for, I guess, you know? There was a lot that I did wrong, guys. I did everything wrong. I was a mess. During this time, my moods would fluctuate. I would go up, I would go way down. Amanda was with it. She was with me the whole time. And yeah, it's tough being a kid, you know? 17. We call this thing the Calder. I don't know what it is or what it does. I mean, Grand Rapids is famous for it. It's our design, it's our logo. I don't know. I can tell you that it's pretty big. Maybe we'll go see it in a minute. Guys, I was almost flawless through my whole education, my whole school. I was a straight A student. I can remember my dad, back when we started to get report cards, he said, hey, for every A you bring home, letter A, on your report card, I will give you $10. So if you had 5 different subjects that you got 5 different grades for, and if you had a little sister that you were trying to compete against because you wanted more A's than her, you did all your homework, you took all the tests, you did it right. And guys, I was skilled, I was talented. I can remember making $50 pretty easy back then. My junior and senior year, after my parents split, my grades plummeted. I mean, F's. I didn't care. I didn't do the work, didn't care anymore. I flunked art, I flunked Latin, I think I flunked Spanish. I flunked them all just because, you know, apathy. Like, why? Why do I care about this? I've already got a job, I've got a girlfriend, I'm good. College was not a thing. So when it came time to graduate, some of my teachers looked at my grades and they were like, oh, Bishop, what are you doing, man? They knew I was smart. My art teacher, she changed my letter F to a D- just so that I could get the credits. My Spanish teacher, D-. I had a bunch of D minuses, and I graduated, you know. Walked across the stage, put on the outfit, held my thing in my hand. What do they call that? I don't know. I tossed my hat in the air. And then I had this cool little graduation ceremony with my family, and Amanda was there, and I was dressed out in my moccasins, my everything. I looked good. But I didn't care, you know. Everybody was congratulations, and we're so happy for you, Bishop. Yay, you're a real man now. I felt like I had been a real man for a couple years, to be honest. And I didn't really want to be around those people. I just wanted to get away, you know, start my life over. So I sort of, I don't know, maybe I ignored him a little bit too much. I was a kid. I was 18 years old. Just wanted to run. So my best friend, he came to visit one time, my dad's apartment. We hadn't seen each other very much. I was busy with Amanda. My best friend, he was busy with his girlfriend. You know, you sort of lose touch, especially when there's women involved. But my best friend, he brought me something that day, and it was kind of interesting, right? He brought some of the green stuff. What do they call it? The devil's lettuce? So out back, you know, facing some woods, we smoked, and I had been practicing the inhale thing. What was it Bill Clinton used to say? I smoked, but I didn't inhale. So I tried to inhale. I don't know. It's hard telling, right? I said, hey man, I don't feel anything. We should do some more. He says, okay. So he packed up a second bowl, the leafy goodness, and we smoked. And I said, you know, I still don't feel anything. Like, what the crap? I'm supposed to feel something? He says, okay, but this is it, Bishop. You only get 3. And if 3 doesn't work, then you are broken. Something's wrong with you. Okay. I still didn't feel anything. I don't know. I was dumb, naive. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel, right? Like, when you're paying attention, when you're looking right at it, it doesn't wave hello. So I said, you know what? I feel like going back to the old stomping grounds, you know? Can we go back to your place for a bit? He says, okay. So we both jump in my car, we're driving down the road, and I had just taken a big old gulp of Mountain Dew, which was my favorite. And my best friend said something that made me laugh, and oh my gosh, I sputtered and snorted Mountain Dew out my nose, out my mouth. I think it came out my tear ducts for a bit there while I'm driving. So I'm driving down the road, coughing and sputtering and puking, and just, you know, had to hang my head out the window. Blah! That's my impersonation. Pulled over for a bit and just, you know, coughed and sputtered and laughed. I laughed so hard. I don't remember what was so funny. I just laughed about it. So yeah, after that day, I was a big fan of the green. It made the voices in the back of my head so quiet, you know, all these voices that say, hey, the bomb's ticking, the bomb's gonna go off, you're gonna be sad again, something's gonna happen to your mother, something's gonna happen to your relationship with Amanda. I'd smoke, poof, no more voices. So when I told Amanda about this magical new flower, she was not real happy. She didn't want to do it. And I think she had a previous encounter and didn't want to, I don't know, it was a bad thing, right? Something bad happened to her while she was high. So for me, because nothing bad had happened, I was like, hey, I'm cool. Amanda, not so much. So Bishop said, hey, I don't need to smoke. I don't need to be high when we're together. You know, we'll be us. We'll do us, and it'll be okay. Just wasn't okay. Guys, you just can't be on a different wavelength than your partner. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. So many times I would want to be high, and Amanda wasn't having it. So it was a rift. It was a divide. It's getting windy and dark. Time to go inside. I think my job as a paint mixer lasted maybe 2 months. I don't know. I didn't stick around for very long. It was miserable work. And I started to grow real unhappy with my dad. He just seemed to be mad about everything all the time, and it was probably my fault. I get it. So I think it must have been somewhere around the fall of '94. I went to my mom and I told her about my troubles, you know. My value as child support to my dad had sort of expired when I turned 18, and now I was just like the problem child, you know. I was no longer worth it. So I asked my mom, I said, hey, what if I were to move back home? You know, I could live in the basement, I could fix it up a little bit, and I could pay you rent. And of course, my mom was ecstatic, you know, get her bishop back, right? And I said, Mom, I want to bring Amanda with me, you know. We're gonna pay you $50 a month for rent, then she and I are gonna live in the basement, and our cat. We had to bring the cat. That's another thing my dad was mad about, is like, you know, you're coming and going at bad times, you're sneaking in the window, you're having the girlfriend spend the night, you've got this cat, it's peeing all over, and Bishop, the carpet is ruined anyway because look at all these paint splatters you've got everywhere. So it was weird, it was awkward. I hung some drywall. I tried to make it as livable as possible, and that winter, roughly 2 years after my mom had taken me to the mental institution, the bishop returned home. I was closer to my grandma, I could help her out more, I was closer to my little brother and my little sister, and my mom saw it as a way to repair our relationship, so she really couldn't say no. When Amanda and I were in the basement on her waterbed making weird noises, then my mom started to have kind of a problem with it, but that's a tale for another day, right? It was fun. Did you guys like the snow? Yeah, see you next time.